Hi guys, today we are doing a basic Jupyter tutorial for beginners. This is the absolute basics of JupyterLab. So, let's dive right in. Alright, so first things first, we start opening our terminal. In my case, it's going to be PowerShell right here. We wait for the terminal to load, and when it's finally loaded, the first thing will be to install Jupyter. So if you don't have it installed, it's with this command right here, pip install JupyterLab. In my case, there's nothing really going on because I have already installed it, but the next step, once you stop installed it, is to execute the program, which is going to be with this command, JupyterLab. Alright, so we hit enter, and as you can see, a bunch of things are going on in the screen. Don't worry, this is completely normal. Here you can see details on where JupyterLab is executing. For example, the port, which is going to be localhost :8888. This is the default port, so this is completely normal. Don't worry about it. So now we are going to minimize this, and as you can see, this is JupyterLab. Okay, so now it is up and running. So what do we have to take into account here? Well, when you start JupyterLab for the first time, probably not going to look like this. It's gonna be like kind of this. And this is the kind of default configuration of Jupyter. However, you can install themes if you like them. In my case, I have installed Capuchin themes. I usually use Frappe Capuchin, which is nothing out of this world neither. You just need to go to the terminal. Okay, so we open a new one, for example here, and we use a PowerShell here, and we install Capuchin JupyterLab in my case. So I'm going to execute it. This is just an example, right? Requirement already satisfied because I have already installed it, and it's really not that simple, not that hard, sorry. And because it's going to simply go settings theme, and here it's going to be in the options. Well, alright, so to get things started, we first need to know our keyboard shortcuts for Jupyter. Okay, so we're starting off with the basics. For us to create a cell, it's with the letter A or letter B. Either of them will have the same result, you can see. It's just that one creates a cell upon another cell, and the other one creates a cell below another cell. So let's say that we created too much cells. We don't want to have this much, so we can delete them by pressing the letter DD. Okay, it's a combination, D and D. Okay, so there's a faster way to erase our cells, which is with the letter X. We can see here. X is much faster, but traditionally people use D and D. It is whatever you prefer because it will have the same result anyways. Alright, so in JupyterLab we have primarily two types of cells, the code cells or the markdown cells. So we can configure a cell via the keyboard by just pressing the letter M for markdown. You can see here it has changed to markdown. Or either way, we can also do this by pressing, for example, we want this one to be markdown, boom, it's markdown, just by pressing the letter M in our keyboard. Or we could also just use the letter Y in our keyboard for it to become code. As you can see here, see how it changes. So it's M for markdown and Y for code. This is all just via our keyboard. Okay, so now we can finally start writing. Right, so this is going to be your average markdown. Okay, this is not a markdown tutorial, it's Jupyter one. So if you don't know markdown, you could learn it. Okay, so for example, here we have a title, right? So we execute this one with Control Enter, and we can see here our title. So let's say we want this in the center of the screen. Well, Jupyter makes it easy because in cells, even in markdown cells, you can introduce HTML. For example, let's do little HTML here. Let's do a tip that aligned equals center, like this. Okay, this. Now we write here our usual markdown. Okay, this is for the title, this is for And let's write JupyterLab tutorial. So we execute this. Perfect. As you can see, we have it in the center. This is because we can execute HTML code within Markdown also. So that is pretty neat. Okay, so let's say now that we want an image here in this cell right here. Okay, so this is an already a Markdown cell. So what we'll need to do is write some Markdown here. For example, start writing here exclamation mark in the brackets, say like JupyterLab image. So you can introduce image in different ways in JupyterLab. For example, it could be a local image which will need to be stored around here in this folder. In my case, it's just a Jupyter folder. But we can also use images from the internet. For example, here we have this logo. So I'm going to copy and paste ID of this. Right, so it's going to look something like this. When we execute this with Ctrl+Enter, there we go. Now we can see that this is here JupyterLab tutorial. This was done using HTML plus Markdown, right? Execute, and also our code in Markdown for us to see an image in Jupyter. Alright, so moving on. In the meantime, I have created another brand new step here, as you can see. So we are going here in the index. You can now see, right? We have our JupyterLab tutorial, and we also have here our step 1. Okay, so this is the way that JupyterLab works while indexing. Basically, as a hierarchy, for example, we enter here. You can see that this is like 3 hashtags, right? This is because this is obviously lower than our main title, which is only 1 hashtag, if we remember. Alright, so this is basically the way that JupyterLab kind of recognizes where everything goes and where it needs to be separated, or whether it needs to be united within our main title. Alright, so as you can see, I have created here a simple LaTeX, which is basically the Laplace transform. We enter here to see it's, as you can see, a regular LaTeX, nothing out of this world, right? This is just to show that you could use LaTeX in Markdown, because here we can see this is a normal Markdown text. If we introduce hashtags or like this, like that, no, this is just to prove that we are really like using Markdown to write here. So just to prove that you can use LaTeX in Markdown here in JupyterLab to create whatever you would like to do. In this case, I use the Laplace transform formula just as an example. You can also write code. Okay, so this is while using the code cell. This cannot be in Markdown because watch what happens if I introduce Markdown here and then like print it. It's going to throw a Markdown, but it's not going to throw code. However, if I change this into code with the letter Y here and play this, we can see that it loads. In this case, I just declare a variable which is called JupyterLab, an interactive environment for data science, and I create up to 3 functions in which I just print them out. Okay, we can also see here the little example of error handling in JupyterLab, in which I declare a random variable, you can see here, in which it is equal to 10 divided by 0. However, here I declare that it cannot be divided by 0, so it's going to throw us an error, in which it declares here what is the error by printing it out, and also the exception. Alright, so we are continuing with step 2, which is the Python libraries. Well, so you could use as many as you please, really. I am just using 3 for the examples. Firstly, with pandas, which is, as many of you may know, a data analysis library in Python. So this was kind of a simple example of use of data analysis in pandas that I wrote. Basically, well, of course, like import pandas, then we create a simple data frame, which is controlled by name, age, and city. Okay, and then lastly, we only like print the what we want. For example, if we want the first rows, well, then panda needs to display the head, and all of that for this. So that's basically it. Not really that fancy. Just a quick use. This is just for an example on how can you use actual data analysis in Jupyter. Okay, so we also got here little graph. This is actually for the official page of Matplotlib. Here it is, a 3D bar chart. It's when you go here into examples and go for 3D plotting, here's one. I like this one, so I just copy and pasted it. Not really something out of this world, kind of simple to like just go to the official website and copy and paste this just for the sake of an example. And lastly, we got arrays and vectors in NumPy. So of course, import NumPy, then we create our arrays, which is going to be A and B, and we do some basic operations. For example, a norm for the vector or a simple addition, which is what is displayed here. And to finish things up, we got here the additional cool stuff that you can do in JupyterLab. Okay, so we firstly got how to insert a YouTube video, which is, I did it with Python, but if you're working with Jupyter Notebook, it is also possible to do it in HTML. It's just so that JupyterLab has more restrictions with the execution of external websites, like YouTube. So it didn't let me. When I tried with iframe in HTML, it just wouldn't let me do it. So but it doesn't matter because I just would do it with Python, even shorter. And it's basically just like from IPython display, just import the YouTube video. Here is the link, right? And here's the width and the height I want to display the video. And finally, insert audio, because yes, you can insert audio. We inspect this. Here we go. It's just an HTML, right? As many of you may know. It's just an audio. Here's the source. This is not actually a real audio. It's just like the example, because if I try to reproduce it, nothing is going to play, right? But of course, if you can add all of this here in your files. So let's see how it looks so far. Okay, so as you can see, here is the whole index. You can see here the main section, JupyterLab tutorial, or step 1, step 2, and step 3. Neat. So well, guys, that's basically gonna be it for me. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you can put all this knowledge to practice. See you in another time.